Hold on to your phone because XRP might be gearing up for a $38 moonshot, and the chart is flashing a 7-year long W pattern that even my coffee-stained napkin can't ignore. But before you kind of sprint to the nearest exchange, there's a twist in this tale that kept me wide-eyed at 2 a.m. and it starts right at the stubborn $2 line. Okay, so quick disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investment. Neither I, nor this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, now that the lawyers are happy, grab your mug, mine's kind of brimming with double shot espresso, and let me rewind to the moment that I stumbled on veteran chart wizard Gert van Lagen's analysis. So picture me doom scrolling through the late night crypto Twitter, half convinced nothing good's gonna happen after midnight. Suddenly, Van Lagen's 7-year double bottom XRP leaps off the screen like a neon open 24/7 sign outside a diner. Two massive kind of price pits, one carved in March 2022 and the other in June 2022. Form a perfect W and the neckline sits exactly at $2. So like any kind of self-respecting TA nerd, I spit out my coffee and start overlaying trend lines faster than a DJ spins vinyl. But here is the kicker. A double bottom isn't just another pretty pattern. It's the market's kind of version of a slingshot pulled back. Pull it back again, and then fire. Right? We saw the first pullback when XRP face planted from $3.80 in 2018 to 11-cent lows in 2020. Pretty ouch, right? Yet the rebound was a head turner, $1.96 in April of 2021. Now that's the first kind of trough, and the kind of middle peak of our giant W pattern. Then Terra collapsed and the market panicked, and XRP took a second dip to 28.7 cents in June of 2022. Painful deja vu, right? But fast forward to December of 2024, XRP claws its way back to $2, then punched through to $3.40 in January of 2025. Exactly the kind of breakout that any pattern spotter prays for. And here is where things go from pretty cool story to grab the popcorn, because every textbook says a neckline breakout usually revisits the very same neckline to test if it's real support or just a weekend fling. Sure enough, since February, XRP has been dancing with the $2 like it's kind of standing on a frozen pond, testing the ice. So hold that level and the double bottom stays intact. Crack it and we re-enter suburbia. So why all of the $38 buzz then? Well, Van Lagen ties it to another pattern nesting inside the first. It gets confusing, right? Now, here's an ascending triangle, right? Lower, or at least higher lows, squeezing price towards a horizontal ceiling, while triangles and double bottoms team up. Now, the kind of potential upside gets pretty spicy. Now, by his conservative math, the measured kind of move projects 1,600% up. So $2 to $38. Yeah, that's conservative. I almost kind of burned my tongue reading just that one. But let's zoom out. History doesn't just rhyme. Sometimes it sings karaoke. Now, in 2013 all the way through to 2017, XRP also drew a double bottom. Only back then it took, almost 3 years to mature. Post breakout, the coin ripped faces, off while the run so parabolic that it looks like it came straight, at least it looks like a straight line on a logarithmic chart. So back then, of course, folks were tossing around magic internet money like confetti. Right, today the market's bigger, regulators have wagged their fingers, and yet the underlying human emotion, the fear and the greed, it still runs the show. And that is why Van Lagen says $38 is modest. Now, my pulse spiked at that moment as I did the math. From current price to $38, it's kind of like turning a $1,000 punt into 17 grand, minus fees, minus sleep, plus maybe a few grey hairs. And here's the problem that we all face. Every moon target headline, it kind of stokes FOMO, while the $2 neckline quietly whispers, defend me or perish. Traders, they see the same line. Whales see it, bots see it, and the moment that price convincingly snaps below $2, high leverage longs turn into confetti. Now, I've been there. I've watched a green P&L evaporate faster than ice in the Dubai heat. 1 minute you're planning celebratory shawarma, and the next you're Googling the cheapest instant noodles. So I phoned a couple of my chart-obsessed friends. One's a data scientist and the other codes trading algos in pajamas. Now, they pulled up historical stats. Whenever XRP printed a valid double bottom on a multi-week timeframes, the average rally measured 1,200%. The median duration, roughly around 420 days from the breakout peak. So that kind of lines up eerily with Van Lagen's trajectory here, right? Breakout on New Year's 2025. Potential blow off by spring 2026. But remember, right? Averages, they hide the outliers. And crypto, well, it loves outliers. So let's talk catalysts, because patterns alone, they don't push the price. Traders do. So the SEC case settled. Ripple's on-demand liquidity corridors expanding in Asia faster than bubble tea franchises. Meanwhile, of course, stablecoin regulations could thrust XRP near instant settlement into the spotlight. So imagine a financial institution kind of flicking a switch. Suddenly trillions in cross-border payments went sub-second settlement, and not 2-day swift limbo then. So if even a slither funnels through the XRP ledger, well, demand skyrockets. Of course, macro headwinds, they lurk like desert sandstorms. Rate cuts could light a fire under risk assets, or surprise inflation could dump icy water. Geopolitics gets spicier by the tweet, and that's why I ration optimism and keep a kind of healthy stash of skepticism, right? When friends ask, so are you all in on XRP now? I kind of chuckle and say, no, I'm dating the kind of trade. I'm not marrying it, right? And that's a difference between conviction and blind faith, right? One checks the charts and the other preys on them. And speaking of conviction, right, you'll find a whole crew of chart sloths in the free educational Discord server. There's a link for that in the description. So pop in, share your scribbles, snag some feedback, or just kind of lurk in, at least for the kind of dank memes, if you will. And it's zero cost, it's high value, and you never know, right, when someone drops a gem before the mainstream pundits even catch on. Now, if you actually plan to pick up XRP, or any coin for that matter, don't just slap buy on the first platform that you see. Now, I've been test driving Blofin's crypto exchange for months, and honestly, the fills have been smoother than my Wi-Fi after midnight. You can check them out via the affiliate link down below, and using that link supports the channel and tells Blofin that you appreciate an up-and-coming exchange, and that kind of treats retail traders like adults, not ATM machines. And of course, there's transparent fees, a clean UI, and yes, proper withdrawal speed, because your crypto isn't yours until it's sitting in your own wallet. Okay, so let's circle back to the narrative climax then, right? The moment that XRP punched past $3.40 in January. Now, the chat rooms went delirious, right? Hashtags trended, and every cousin who ghosted me during the bear market suddenly wanted insider tips. But then, a brutal reality check. Resistance hammered the price down. Watching it slide back to the $2 kind of felt like driving a new sports car up a hill, only for it to stall inches from the summit. Now, that's the climax of our story, because everything hinges on how XRP behaves right now at this line in the sand. If the bulls defend $2 and volumes kick in, well, we ignite the rocket stage towards Van Lagen's fabled $38. Now, their rally likely won't be a straight arrow either, so expect turbulence, flash crashes, freakouts, influences blaming market makers, dogs barking at shadows. Now, my plan here, of course, is ladder entries, tighten stops as we climb, and journal, every trade so that future me can, of course, laugh or cry at the present me's genius. Of course, if bears win and $2 snaps like dry twig, well, I hop to the sidelines, right? Assess the damage, of course, and wait for a new setup, right? Patience, of course, it is not sexy, but nothing is blowing up your, but neither, I should say, is blowing up your portfolio. And in all of this, you got to remember, right? The real goal, financial freedom. It's not bragging rights, right? A price target is just a number until it actually changes your life, right? Now, my mentor once told me profits are ink on paper, right? Until they are your groceries on the table, right? Wise words. And so if XRP does, of course, rip, have an exit strategy, right? Maybe shave a few off of kind of a position or two on the way up, 10% of $5, 10% at, $10, a chunk at $20, whatever kind of fits your risk portfolio or profile, right? Celebrate the victories, tip yourself with experiences, not just kind of more coins. And so before we wrap up, here's a rapid fire checklist in plain English. We have a double bottom confirmed, yes. Neckline retest underway, absolutely. Must hold $2, like a kind of tightrope walker grips the pole, right? Upside potential if successful, roughly about 17x, right? Downside if it fails, back to support at around $1, so you're probably going to want to bring a coat and an umbrella. And wow, right? If your brain kind of feels like it just did a marathon, welcome to my world. But hey, right? You made it this far, so treat yourself. Jump into the free Discord, right? Scope out the Blofin affiliate link if you are a solid trader. And if you're still learning, try some demo trading. Don't trade with real funds. And keep your eyes peeled, of course, on the $2 line like it's your final lap of Formula One. Because whether XRP kind of sprints to $38 or face plants, the story unfolding right now will be a kind of case study that people quote for years. So remember, the 7-year W and you, my friend, we are on the sidewalk, right? Coffee in hand, breaking it down with me in real time.